lost when you don't chase it. What you looking at me for? What you looking at me for?
What's going on, folks? It's your favorite hour of the week with the Facts Over Acts crew. And as always, as we've started recently, rather, we're gonna start off with just asking how the fellas' weekend was, man. Josh, how you been, man? What's going on? How was your weekend?
It was cool, man. Same old, same old. You know, got the rest on. Streamed a little bit, chilled with the homies. You know, pretty laid back weekend.
You know, it's again. This is remind me of that Smokey Robinson gangbanging song where he was like, wasting time. Like, bro, that's one of the best things to do when you're an adult.
Yeah.
You can waste time and not be worried about nothing.
No, the wildest part about that song is that he implied that dudes was out on the corner gangbanging and drinking Merlot.
Well, hey, he knew he had. He had to rhyme something with time, and Hennessy don't rhyme with time. You know what I mean? Ciroc don't rhyme with time. He said, drinking that wine. They drinking Arbor Mist on the corner. That's what gangbangers doing, Smokey. They drinking chilled Arbor Mist. Okay. All right. Anywho, Chris, how was your weekend, man?
It was good, man. I got to see some people that I ain't seen in a while, man. Stuff like that. So I was chill weekend, you feel me? Ready to get back to work. Watching my sports this week, man.
That sounded so melancholy, bro. You sounded so sad to see them. Saw a bunch of people, man. Went to a place, saw some folks. Nah, I feel you, bro. I feel you. Well, folks, my weekend was good. I just chilled. Watched the women's basketball team that I root for get shafted out of the tournament. That's another story for another time. But we're going to get right into this thing because we got a heck of a show for y'all today. We got the trade deadline, and this was the livest trade deadline I've seen in quite some time. As always, we have an NBA arms race developing, and this is a little different than we've ever seen it before. We're going to talk about the discrepancy in how coaches of color and black coaches are given opportunities as opposed to some of their white counterparts. And then we got a little UFC for y'all today. I know a lot of Ziv Nation likes the fighting, the wrestling, the UFC, all that. We got it for you. Relax. We saw the fight. It's coming, all right? We got all that and more for y'all today. Fellas, does that sound good to y'all?
Sound great.
I'm happy for it.
Excellent. Well, first of all, we got the money man, the man with the plan, Mr. Chris Allen in the building.
Right here.
And we got the master of the mix and master, Josh Guyton in the building.
That is I.
And then you got me, the little old MC, Kenton Gibbs. And we're going to get right into this trade deadline, man, because there was so much movement. And maybe I may be wrong here, but do y'all ever remember there being this many medium to big names moving at the trade deadline in recent history?
No, I know this might be the biggest one. I remember ones that had a lot more rumors swirling, but the stuff that was actually executed and the level of buyouts is really set it apart for me.
Right.
That were bought out.
I think buyouts is going to be a market that the NBA, they kind of nerf a little bit in the words of like gaming. So. Because teams has been just grabbing these players with these big deals and just letting them take a roster spot and not even playing them, and then they just tanking, like just literally just tanking, and then they buy that player out, that player go wherever they want to go. So it's kind of like, I think they're going to nerf that a little bit because I'm not a big fan of it either. Because if you think about all the names that could have got bought out this year, it would have been a totally different league.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I wonder who in particular we're talking about buying out a huge name after a big contract. Man, what a time. Maybe a team who's always selling that is located in the second-rate state of Ohio. Joking for any of our listeners or viewers out there in Ohio. But we got to get into these trade talks. And before we get into the trade talks, let's talk about who stayed places. Kyle Lowry. He was a hot name. There was a lot of action around his name. The Heat were allegedly involved. The Lakers were allegedly involved. A few other teams were allegedly involved in this thing. What do y'all make of Kyle Lowry staying in Toronto?
I think it was just more of a stalemate. I think that, especially if you look at the role that Kyle Lowry has played for Toronto, and if you look at how much the Raptors fan base cherishes that group of guys, especially when it comes to Lowry and DeRozan. They were heartbroken when DeRozan left. I think it's always been a matter of, I think that the Raptors value Lowry a lot more than he is. So it was one of those things where they weren't giving him away for just a bag of chips, but also a lot of teams weren't willing to give away more than a bag of chips in order to get him. Like he's one of those players that it's weird because he's a couple of time All-Star. He's an impactful player, but at the same time, I don't think you invest too much on adding Kyle Lowry to your roster because you don't know how much of a difference he's going to make, honestly.
Right. I'm confused about like how you put a player on the trade market and then like bring him back.
Yeah, right.
Like to me, that's the equivalent of a player entering the transfer portal in the NCAA, but slightly different. Because like at least when a player entered the transfer portal, you like, all right, this is an 18, 19, maybe 20-year-old kid. His head might not have been on straight, or she might have been a little angry about not getting as much playing time. It's all right. When you're a player, a star player, a face of the franchise type player, which I mean, objectively, Kyle Lowry is for the Raptors.
Yeah.
When you're at that level and they're like, yeah, we're going to get rid of you. The GM is a 50-year-old, dog. He got grandkids probably. Like, it's a little different. It's a little different for him to be like, all right, we're going to get rid of him. LOL, JK, come on, man. Come on. All they was offered was Tyler Hero and Myers Leonard when he wasn't on stream. So, like, that's it. We don't really want that here. Chris, what you thinking, man? Are you surprised by Kyle Lowry's thing?
No, actually, I mean, for me, Kyle Lowry, he could move the needle on a lot of teams. But here's where my thing with Kyle Lowry is. If Kyle Lowry never won that championship in Toronto, I say Toronto will owe it to Kyle Lowry to trade him somewhere he wanted to go to because he's been loyal to that fan base. He's been a soldier on the battlefield. He showed up when he needed to show up most of the time. There's a couple times when LeBron came to town and Kyle Lowry went missing in action. But who didn't go missing in action in the East when LeBron was running the East? But the ring that he got in Toronto kind of makes it like okay, Kyle Lowry stays. It's all right. He got his ring. He gonna retire. He gonna be better than a lot of point guards because he got a ring, and he showed out in that game 6 of that finals. So I'm happy for Kyle Lowry. I'm glad he can stay where he is familiar with. I'm glad he can, he got his championship, and I'm glad if he leaves. I was happy if he leaves because Kyle Lowry is just one of those guys that you don't have a problem with. He's a good vet. He's a great leader in the locker room. Like Kyle Lowry's just a well put together point guard to me. So you telling me he was gonna be outside of Pat Riley's office singing "Where I Want to Be" if he ain't get a ring? He was gonna be outside the Mickey Harrison. Please come get me. No, but seriously, Kyle Lowry's stand isn't that much of a surprise to me because I mean, like I said, high value to the Raptors, not so high value to the rest of the NBA. Like those, when you have that situation come up, 9 times out of 10. Players not leaving. Now, another player that we're going to get to, because I'm going to slander this team every opportunity I get. Kevin Love still being with the Cavs. Can either of you explain this to me? Like I'm a 5-year-old, please.
No, I know I'm going to leave a lot of things out of detail because this is your topic. I think you should spearhead, right? But it just doesn't make sense for me from the standpoint of Cleveland isn't contending. They signed him to a deal as if they were going to be contending, like he was going to be, the centerpiece of this franchise after LeBron left. They're not playing him. The longer he doesn't play, he doesn't get any better. They haven't traded him, which I'm sure, like, it's teams out there that would have given you a decent package for Kevin Love. I know the best Kevin Love days we've seen have been
Atlanta.
5-6 years
I guarantee you, Atlanta. If you called Atlanta and said John Collins for Kevin Love, they would have did it in a heartbeat.
They probably would have did a little more.
And they would have gave them. They would have gave Kevin Love. They would have gave Kevin Love and some picks for John Collins.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't see the reason in not buying him out because, like, that's a guy that could have easily left and he stayed loyal to the franchise after LeBron left and you guys weren't contending and they are not giving him the justice of buying him out, which, I mean, Cleveland making a bad front office decision doesn't surprise me at all, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
The Cavs are always selling, and I'm sick of it. Chris, what you thinking about this, man? What you thinking about Kevin Love?
I'm gonna make it short because I know you want to get on your sermon. So,
right.
For me, it's just kind of like go get something. You a rebuilding team. You gonna lose either way. If Kevin Love plays, you're still gonna lose. And correct me, I'm not 100% sure on this audience, so don't fact check me. I believe he's one of the 3 players of the last 30-30 game we've seen. I mean,
that would make sense. It would make sense.
I think he is. So you telling me someone that at one point had a 30-30 game is worth nothing now? Like, it was just 4 seasons ago, where Kevin Love was in the NBA Finals. And then the year after that, he was in the NBA Finals. They just didn't win. So you telling me someone like that don't have value still in the NBA?
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me.
But Blake Griffin does?
And that's what I was just about to get to. The biggest part of what doesn't make sense to me is he doesn't have a Blake Griffin style game. Blake Griffin's game is largely dependent upon him being able to get to the rim explosively. His game is largely dependent upon him being able to finish over guys who are 3-4 inches taller than him, that have a couple inches of wingspan over him. Kevin Love has never played that style of basketball.
At the same time, don't y'all agree that Kevin Love has a much better watch game than Blake Griffin?
Yes.
Yeah.
His game ages well. His game ages really well.
And that to me is what is so confusing.
Yeah.
Cleveland, what are you doing? Get rid of him. You can find somebody who will give you, hey, listen, go to OKC way and go get yourself some picks. Go get something, man. Go get something. Is just.
If Al Horford was able to get traded on that bad contract, Kevin Love should be able to get traded. His contract is not nearly as bad as that Al Horford contract was.
Hello. And so Cleveland, I can't say what I want to say because this is a PG podcast, but y'all can go to the only place known to man that's worse than the state of Ohio. It has something to do with where Lil Nas X went in the Montero video. Now, moving on to the fire sale that happened in Orlando, because, I mean, good God, they gave away everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. They sent Vooch to the Bulls. We were just talking about free Vooch. I don't think this is what any of us meant. Come on, man. Like, honestly, it's like going from Cleveland to Columbus. Like, you're not really, it's a lateral move.
Honestly, I wanted Vooch somewhere where like the team was struggling, but like he'd be interesting to watch. And the team, I didn't care if Vooch was on a winning team because I mean, I don't think Vooch is a first or second option on a championship team. I think he'd be a great third option. I think he's in the same tier as he's slightly below a Paul George when it comes to the championship team roster.
I think if you came to a good championship roster, I think you could put Vooch in the same category as like a Miami Chris Bosh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a number 3.
I think Miami Chris Bosh has more value than a Paul George. So
honestly, I'm not disagreeing.
Honestly, I wanted Vooch to go somewhere like Washington. Like, you know, yes, Washington's a bad franchise, but wouldn't you love to see Russ, Bradley Beal, and Vooch on one team? Like, that would just be fun to watch, just in general. Like, to me, that would be just good to watch. Because the Wizards don't have any size at all. They don't even have. You can't even tell me who they big man or they backup big man is now. I mean, Robin Lopez.
Robin Lopez.
Robin Lopez. Yeah, but he's hurt. He's hurt though. No, I'm saying he's hurt.
Okay. Well,
so you don't know who started.
Thomas Bryant or he started?
He hurt. Or ACL tour.
Oh.
Is Bertans? They got Bertans, right?
He come off the bench.
I knew that much.
So if Boot was there, it'd just be fun to watch the Wizards. I mean, Bradley Beal dropped 40 a night, Russ get a triple double, and then you got Boot give me 25 and 12. I'd been all for it.
Lose by 20.
And still lose by 20 because you can't guard me. So I mean, it just I really just wanted Boot to go somewhere where he'd have fun. And I mean, I think him playing with Zach LaVine is gonna be good for him. He is gonna have fun, but. Has Chicago been relevant since the so-called super team they formed to beat LeBron James? Like, they really haven't made any moves to make themselves really relevant. Besides that Derrick Rose team.
I don't think so. Mm-hmm.
And that was how long ago?
Buzzer beater against Cleveland was the last time anybody was like, Chicago, maybe.
And that was D Rose after the injuries.
Right.
So
right.
But wasn't that like, that got to be at least 8 years ago?
It was 2015. It was
2015. We 2021.
Oh, 6 years ago. Okay, 6 years ago. Oh.
Yeah.
So I mean,
excuse the hell out of me. Whoa.
I'm just saying,
you're right.
The Bulls just, I don't know. Like, yeah, long term it might make sense, but right now, I mean, I think the Bulls had a solid young roster. I don't think you need to blow it up as much as they did.
But like, does it though? Because Vuk is pretty old. Like he don't got a lot of years left, and I'm pretty sure the Bulls sent. Did they send 2 firsts over here? Oh no, that was the Nuggets.
I was really
for Aaron Gordon.
no, they sent Wendell Carter and Otto Porter. I was really high on Wendell Carter. I really like Wendell Carter's game. Like I thought he was gonna be good in the league. And they just got Patrick Williams. I thought him, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, and Wendell Carter was a good core that you can have ride out in the sunset. Like eventually you'll be relevant. That's a solid 4 players out of college.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I think this Vooch move was more fan service for Chicago fans. I think that Vuk needed to get out of Orlando, and that Bulls fans were kind of fed up with just like mediocrity, and there was some excitement there with those players. So if you're looking at it, Chicago is the 10 seed right now, which gets them in the play-in. So in the East, just with the experience of Vuk, like his play style and having LaVine over there, I think Chicago has enough pieces to kind of shake the table in the playoffs. I think they have a potential to possibly win that play-in tournament, and whoever they go against in the first round, which will probably be Philly, a healthy Philly, I think Chicago might be able to rattle off 1, possibly 2 games against. And
so instead of a sweep, they get 5 games.
Yes, but I think in the future, in the next 2 to 3 seasons, I think this is a team that you can see kind of like waver around that middle of the pack. Like we can see Chicago be a 6 seed for the next 3 seasons, as opposed to the alternative to we could see them possibly not make the playoffs during that time.
I mean, for me, if you're going to be a middle of the pack team anyway, though, Guyton, keep your young guys and be a middle of the pack team.
I agree with that. That's why I think this deal was fan service. I think the best thing you can get out of this is seeing Chicago on a few more TNT games during the year.
They're going to get their money back from the TV and the tickets because they're going to be a little bit more interested to watch. But, I mean.
And okay, so the next deal that we got is Aaron Gordon going to the Nuggets for 2 first-round picks. And who were the players involved in that?
Gary Harris was involved. And I forgot the other guy. He's a big.
No, it was the guy who played in Australia, right?
Yeah.
R.J. Hampton, right?
Yeah.
R.J. Hampton?
Yep.
Yeah, so R.J. Hampton, Gary Harris got traded for.
Yep.
Gary Harris was in that trade, yeah.
Anywho, all right, so that trade happens. Winners, losers, what are our thoughts on this trade?
Neither. Believe it or not. So Orlando, I think Orlando may have won just because they're getting rid of a piece that is a piece that if Aaron Gordon is a big enough and he's an impactful enough player to where as long as he's on your team, you can never do a proper rebuild because you're either going to have to pay him or he can win you some games to where you're not like dead last in the conference, right? But I think Orlando won because they got rid of Vuk, they got rid of Aaron Gordon, only 2 players on that team that could really like shift the needle between a win and a loss. And they're going to get Isaac back. They're going to get Markelle Fultz back. So it gives them a chance to do a proper rebuild to where they can tank, get some good players, and try to, turn this into something as opposed to being, we're going to have the 9 pick every season. So I think they won in that sense, but I don't understand how this makes sense from the Nuggets perspective, right? The Nuggets are a team that are somewhat contenders. And I think the only thing that could shift your trajectory from being almost contender to a possible like championship team is experience. And even though Aaron Gordon is extremely talented, that's not something that he has. Has Aaron Gordon been in the play? He's been in the playoffs twice. He's been in the league for about 7-8 years now, I believe, right? And he's been in the playoffs twice.
I think about 5-6 years.
Yeah, but he's been out in the first round both times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really understand it from that perspective, and the Nuggets have kind of like curated this culture around Jokic to where you have versatile players that can get to the rim, they can shoot. They're kind of like very versatile, like 3-and-D players around Jokic. And if you look at Aaron Gordon's skill set, although he can get the ball in the basket, he kind of seems like a lesser version of what the Nuggets are putting together. Like his efficiency at what he does doesn't seem on par with the rest of the Nuggets team. I don't know if Jokic playmaking ability will open that up for him, but I'm curious to see like how Aaron Gordon's skill set fits into this Nuggets culture because it doesn't fit in my opinion.
The only thing that I'll say of why this makes sense, Aaron Gordon has been in the league for a little bit of time now. He was drafted in 2014. However, he was one of those one and dones that like many people said should come back. He's only 25. At the conclusion of this season, he'll be 26. Like, I mean,
true.
That to me. He's still not at a point where we're like, all right, his best days are behind him, and within the next 2 years, he'll start regressing. Right. 28-year-olds generally don't regress much.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless you're Sean Kemp. Like, that's not how that works. So, with that being said, I honestly believe that he will get a chance to showcase his talents, and he'll be good with the Nuggets. But the only way this makes sense is if they pull a championship out of it. That's the only way this makes sense. Because if they just pull deep playoff runs out of it, you were going to get that with R.J. Hampton and Gary Harris. Like, that's just the reality of it. Yeah. Nothing really changes to me. Chris, what you thinking, man? Any winners, losers, what you thinking?
I'm going to go on a limb and be different. I'm going to say the Nuggets won. I think, like, Gibbs, you said Nuggets won, right?
Oh, I said that this was a wash. I think that everybody moved laterally. I think Gary Harris, losing Gary Harris and gaining Aaron Gordon does, like, you basically evened out more or less.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go on a limb and say the Nuggets won because a couple reasons. One, the Nuggets lost a lot of depth when they let Jeremy Grant walk. Jeremy Grant did things on that court athletically that they needed desperately. And one of the Nuggets' problems, I feel like, is they don't have anybody athletic other than Jeremy Grant last year. They didn't have anybody, like, if you name their starting lineup, Gary Harris was athletic, but he was in and out the lineup injuries.
Right.
They really don't have any athleticism on that court. So when Jokic is bringing the ball up, yes, he's a slower big man, but, he's a flashy big man a little bit. You got somebody that can run now. So Aaron Gordon would be a great rim runner for Jokic to bring the ball up slow, and he sneaks behind the defense, gets them easy dunks, and gets some easy buckets. You can't win in the playoffs without getting easy buckets. And the Nuggets, to me, without that Jamal Murray and Jokic screen, they worked hard for every bucket. Like, every bucket. Then you got the decline of Paul Millsap. So this is a huge upgrade in that department to me. Aaron Gordon now to Paul Millsap then. Even though Paul Millsap still is an efficient scorer because he takes good shots. But Paul Millsap, at this stage in his career, he's useless on his
water.
He's kind of useless.
I've seen a handful of Nuggets games this year, and as somebody that does a sports podcast, I'm kind of ashamed. Chris might be right, because I low-key forgot that Paul Millsap was a person on planet Earth. The entire time we was having this conversation, I forgot Paul Millsap existed, bro.
Exactly.
My God.
But Paul Millsap at one point was an all-star. So you got Paul Millsap mentoring Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., who's also someone athletic they have. He didn't play much last year. He was in and out the lineup. That's why I didn't include him. But now you got two athletic wings that can rebound the ball and push the ball, and they can get behind the defense athletically. And that's what the Nuggets, you can't, have there been a championship team that has won with not one athletic player?
I can't think of one.
The only things I can think of.
The closest team, 2015 Warriors, but they had Iggy and Draymond. They are athletic.
Yeah, 07 Spurs?
What? No, wait a minute. Klay Thompson is an out of this world athlete. That's
what I'm saying. He's athletic.
Ball extremely.
He's athletic too. True. But I'm saying, like, that's the closest. 2015 was the closest I could think of. 07 Spurs, they still had.
They had Kawhi, didn't they?
No,
07.
07.
Yeah.
But 07 was a different time. That was. I mean, didn't they play the Cavs in that final suit?
Yeah, they played the Cavs.
You don't need much to count on Boogie Gibson missing. Like, you don't need that much to be like, you know what? We're going to put 4 on this LeBron guy. Do your best as a Drew guy.
The only other team I could possibly think of, if we, I don't know what we going as far as athletes, or if we only looking at maybe starting lineups or big minutes, but maybe the 2010 Lakers. That was kind of the downturn of Kobe's. Like that's when Kobe.
But he was still crazy
two-handed.
athletic, though, man. He's still crazy athletic, bro.
Yeah, well, I guess you could, but no, Ron Artest though. He wasn't athletic. He was just a hell of a defender.
He was just
okay.
strong.
But both of those teams were at different times though. The last 7 against the Celtics, we'll never see another Game 7. What was the final score to that? It was like 70 to 60,
72, bro.
That's what I'm saying. It was super. It was in the 70s. We're never gonna see that again. That was the last of that.
Athletic wings that can switch everything is the way to go in this NBA. So you have Michael Porter still working on defense, but he got Millsap, who used to be a good defender, mentoring him now. So now Millsap doesn't have to play. He can give you some spot minutes off the bench if you need him to, but now he doesn't have to play. He's not required in the lineup anymore.
He Tree Rollins on the Magic. He Tree Rollins on the Magic.
So I think the Nuggets got better with this. They got somebody that could switch and get Jokic a break from guarding the big man, because Jokic don't guard the big man anyway. So you got somebody to just stand next to the big man now. Yeah. So I mean, I think the Nuggets got better, honestly.
Can't believe you just gave him Oakley on the Raptors treatment. That's crazy.
I mean, you forgot he existed. I'd rather you call me Oakley on the Raptors to be like, wait, he's a person on Earth? That's a thing? I thought this man went to Mars. That's crazy. All right, so another part of the Magic's fire sale, the final part, I guess, would be Evan Fournier going to the Celtics. Does this move the needle? Is there a winner to this? Is there a loser to this? What are you thinking?
No. The Celtics need, going into the season, even we did like our preseason, predictions and stuff, a lot of us had the Celtics being a finals team. Yeah. I know that I did for sure. And I don't know what happened for them in this season, but Evan Fournier is not the thing to turn the needle on what you need. Evan Fournier is the guy that's going to come in and maybe play a little defense, and then he can get open and hit a corner three every once in a while. But he's not a player that's...
He averaged 19 a game in Orlando, so he probably averaged 14 a game.
That's dealing with a ridiculous amount of injuries. He's not touching that ball a lot in Boston. Boston is missing out on interior presence. They're missing out on playmaking, and Evan Fournier is not providing either one of those things for Boston. I don't know if they wanted to make a move just to show Boston fans like, hey, we're trying, but that's not the move that you needed to do. Boston needed to make a borderline blockbuster move in order to try to turn the season around.
Chris, what you thinking, man? What you thinking?
Danny Ainge is a prisoner of his own decisions. He held on to them assets like crackheads hold on to that last $5.
Oh my God!
I'm trying to tell you, he did not let them asses go one bit. Like it was food or crack for the crackhead, and they said crack for sure, and that's what Danny Ainge did. It was keep
assets
my team
or wins assets.
Right. You feel me? He was like, I don't think do we win now? I don't know. And now what asses does Danny Ainge have?
Well,
you done paid Jaylen Brown already. You done paid Tatum already. You about to pay Marcus Smart, 'cause if you don't, you're stupid. You gave Kemba a boatload of money.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
You gave Gordon Hayward a boatload of money, and now he gone. You don't have anything anymore. You don't have those picks you drafted with those picks. So and when the time for the Celtics to make that leap, they should have did it while Tatum was on that rookie deal and Jaylen Brown was on that rookie deal, because they were still great players. They both all-stars now, don't get me wrong. They were still great players. But they went and signed Kemba Walker because that just was the right thing to do at the time. Kemba's no scrub at all, but if you know you had those two guys that were gonna be developing, I didn't see the need to pay him that much money and go get him. That
I see it like this. Danny Ainge is one of those guys that like he sticks to his guns no matter what. So when he's right, he looks great, and it's like, yo, he did it. But when he's wrong, he's really, really wrong, and he's gonna double down on it because he's Danny Ainge. But it's still like, you're really, really wrong, Danny.
Are you calling Danny Ainge the LeVar Ball of general managers?
You know what? I'll tell you this. I'll take it a step further. I can't give him that. I'll tell you what. If he finds a way to pull 3 championships out of Tatum, he'll be the Joe Jackson If he pulls away to get 3 out. Because listen, hear me out. At the end of the day, a lot of people said that Tatum wasn't the guy with that pick. That wasn't an unpopular opinion. Everybody wasn't like, oh, Tatum's the guy, you need him. There were a lot of people who said he wasn't the guy with that pick. A lot of people said, oh, he's too many assets, he's holding on to assets, like we're saying right now. If you find a way to get 3 championships out of Tatum.
If y'all remember, the Celtics actually traded backwards, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like Markelle or Lonzo, so they wanted Tatum, which was crazy. Everybody thought that was insane.
Exactly.
But I mean, Tatum, out of the 2 picks ahead of him, he's been looked like the best. So.
They said a wing that was not super athletic, that did not have all the playmaking ability in the world, was not the guy to go with. Yeah. And it's worked out for him. So, if he can find a way to get some championships about Tatum, if you get 1, nah, you still LeVar. You can't move out of LeVar territory with 1. Maybe 2, we start talking about it. But 3.
And the Celtics, somebody just asked in the chat, who's the C's big man? The Celtics just had Daniel Tice get traded as well. Yeah.
So
they have Tristan Thompson
Williams?
now, and then Robert Williams. Tristan Thompson, Robert Williams, and then you got Grant Williams. Are they big?
I don't know if y'all have ever heard Tristan Thompson speak. That man is not fit to be nobody's big or intimidator. I am sorry. I am not going to be scared of bro. That is not how that's going to work. You know what? Never mind. We're gonna move on right past that. Okay. And we're going to get to the buyouts here. LaMarcus Aldridge, bought out by the Spurs. Oh, wait. Before we get to the buyouts, can we talk about the draft thing for a second, the assets? What is OKC doing? They have 30. Am I correct in saying that they have 34 first and second? I mean, 34
until 2027, they have 17. Between now and 2027, they have 17 first-round picks and 17 second-round picks. They have 34 picks.
Okay, so over the course of 6 years, they have 34 draft picks.
They got more than 1 round of drafting.
Fellas, is this strategy going to pay off? Is this a strategy that y'all are like, we could buy? Oh, and they just waived Doc Rivers' kid, by the way, Austin Rivers. He really still deserves Austin Rivers' kid. Anyway, they waived Austin Rivers. Is this strategy going to work out?
No, and I'll give you. This is the reason why. In a perfect universe, you will eventually one day be able to flip all of these picks for a marquee player to bring him in and possibly say, like, hey, we got this marquee player. Let's go ahead and bring in a free agent. The first issue is I don't see a free agent signing with Oklahoma City, regardless of what weapons are there. 2, in order to make a deal this big, you have to be willing to include maybe a marquee player you have right now. And the only one that has the potential to be that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which I don't see them trading. But you got to look at
the torture chamber. You don't think he got the ability?
No.
Hey, listen, I love that nickname though. Yeah, when he clamps somebody up, they be like, he's in the torture chamber. I love that.
See,
go ahead.
Right. So this isn't like they just said in the chat. This isn't the NFL to where you can get you a marquee player if you trade. Let's trade 5 picks and get a marquee player in return. That'll happen in the NFL. In the
Actually,
NBA,
the NBA has a rule against that. You can't trade. Right. You can't trade back-to-back years first picks. So, like, if I trade my first round picks in one trade, the next year I can't trade my first round picks.
It's called the Sapien rule. You're right.
Yeah.
So I just can't picture a universe where you can find a team that's willing to, like, hey, let's go ahead and give away our second best player or our franchise player and get 5 picks in return. Like, OKC has been the only team we've seen that's come with that approach to rebuilding in the past 100 years of basketball.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one team that if they really wanted to, they should have pulled this off. The Rockets with James Harden. That would have been beautiful for them to be like, yeah, give us those 5 picks. James, take your tail on the OKC. You hated it here. Go play in OKC.
The Rockets are trying to build that narrative that if you sign with us and you want to leave, we get you to your destination that you want. I mean, it's dumb.
Man, Houston is a top 3 market in America. And have you seen? Never mind. I'm not even gonna go to that.
I bet you H-Time, kid. You ain't gotta tell me. You know my heart now, H-Time.
You don't gotta sell Houston to NBA players. You do not have to sell to rich, successful 20-year-olds Houston is the city you want to be in. Yes. Sign me up yesterday. Like,
you see, Christian Wood went down, no hesitation. So, I mean.
Didn't even think about it. Chris, what you think, man? Is this 34 picks going to work out?
Sam Presti's the same GM that drafted Russell Westbrook, KD, James Harden, right?
I don't think he just. Wait, no, I thought they got new management and after they didn't want to pay James Harden.
I don't think so.
I think it was Sam Presti.
All right, well, let's say congrats to Sam.
Just that being said, they do know how to find talent, and Shea is the hidden talent that they have on their team right now.
Right.
The problem I have with all the picks, I'm comfortable with them finding talent. I'm comfortable with them with knowing talent because they grabbed Shea in the steal deal to me for Paul George, who ended up not even felling out to winning the championship.
For sure.
And you turn a bunch of scraps into 34 picks. Like, they literally was just picking up players and waving them, and getting picks. So they built the arsenal of picks. The problem I'm having, how much longer are kids going to go to the draft? How much longer are kids going to go to college and play? A lot of kids.
Wait, what?
I'm saying, like, a lot of kids, they're trying to go overseas and then go to the draft like that. They're not really going to college. So it's going to be harder to scout talent is what I'm saying, where I was going with.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be harder for them to scout talent because a lot of kids, and then it's going to be a lot of kids coming out of high school now. So it's going to be even longer for them to develop coming out of high school because everybody's not going to be a LeBron James, come to the league and just dominate. Everybody's not going to be those players that came straight from high school and just dominated. A lot of those players, even when you draft them out of high school, it's going to be tough for them in the NBA. That high school to NBA level is a huge jump versus the college level. So,
i.e. Jalen LeCue.
So I don't get it for this era of basketball. Now, if this was the 80s, 90s, they would be cooking with fish grease with that many picks. They would be, you could draft 58th and get a good player back then because everybody was fighting hard. It was a tougher game back then. So, I mean,
the only way I could possibly see this going well for the Thunder is if they like find some gems that like to them they immediately see, okay, this guy's a gem. We can't give him up. But other than that, like there's on your roster now, how many of those players do you see keeping for the next 4 years? You keep Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you keep Lou Dort, you keep who else? Who else would you keep from these teams?
I keep Roby. Roby's been pretty solid.
Okay, you keep Roby, right? So the NBA only allows you 15 roster spots, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 12 more roster spots. What are you going to do with these other 30? I mean, 12. So you got you got 9. So 9. You got 9 roster spots. I'm sorry, you got 12 roster spots to use here. 34 picks. What under God's green earth are you going to do? Even if we completely exclude all the second rounders and say all the second round draft will be complete and total bums, right? Sure, you still have 17 first round picks. With 17 first round picks, you're now looking at the 17 plus 3, you got 20. What you have too many. What are you going to do? In the words of the woman from the meme, somebody ain't doing the math right because it ain't adding up. It ain't. With that being said, I think that they'll have to make some moves to get rid of some of these picks because they have too many, and hopefully they can pull off some 2K style trades where they get like a Tyler Hero and a Duncan Robinson for 3 firsts or something. Because otherwise, it won't make sense to have this many first round picks that you can't do anything with.
The logic behind it is, and I'm going to get off this topic, we run out of time on this topic, but I think the logic is you draft somebody that's sensational talent, you pair him with Shea, and you start trading those picks like crazy, and you go get them some pieces to help them in the playoffs. So they get another centerpiece because they already got one centerpiece. I think Shea eventually can be a number 2 on a championship team.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not so sold on number 1 yet, but I think he'd be a number 2 on a championship team. And then you draft somebody that could develop into a number 1 on a championship team, and then you start letting picks go. But you got to do all of this in a 5 to 6 year window because you only got,
Okay, all right. So we're going to go from the trades and the drafts to the opposite end of the spectrum with the buyouts. LaMarcus Aldridge bought out by the Spurs. He's going to the Nets. What are y'all thinking? This is a big man that's shooting 37% from 3 on the season. Does this move the needle for you? Is there a winner or loser? Did the Spurs lose in buying him out? What are y'all thinking?
I don't understand this move, if I'm being honest. LaMarcus Aldridge is for most of his career he's been a borderline great player. But somebody that's past their athletic prime and essentially with the roster the way it's constructed is going to be a spot up player. I'm not really understanding because there's a lot better spot up players that you can get out of this situation. I think at this point the Nets' biggest problem has been interior defense. Like that's really the only hole that we can see in their game, and that's not something that Aldridge brings to the game. He's a back to the basket, face up mid range kind of player, and when you have KD, Kyrie, Harden on the floor, it's no room for you to say, "Hey, let's ISO LaMarcus Aldridge and have him do a 15-foot post fade." So essentially, you picked up a very experienced spot up player, which you could have gotten other places. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
ISO 15-footer combo will never not kill me. Never not kill me. Boy. That's tough. That's a tough deal to get. Chris, does this make sense to you? Does he fit? What you thinking, man?
I mean, he's a former All-Star. Of course, it makes sense. But I'm gonna put this in perspective for the audience. You got James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, all in their prime, the peak of their careers right now. KD fighting the injury bug right now. We don't know his status. He's supposed to come back, but we not entirely sure. Them guys run though. When them three was on the court together for the little brief moment we seen them on the court together, them boys run. Like Kyrie was getting the ball, taking off, hitting Harden, Harden hitting KD, KD throwing it back out to Kyrie, Harden cutting down the middle, layup. They back on defense. Where does Aldridge help you with that? They went from only one big man and DeAndre Jordan after the Harden trade because they lost Jerry Allen to now they got Blake Griffin, Aldridge, and DeAndre Jordan.
But is Blake Griffin really a big now with his play style and his size?
No.
I mean he's 6'8". He's 6'8". He's not the greatest rebounder there is, and he's not even gonna play in the paint much. So like,
I think he might be 6'10", but even still, it's I mean, and to be honest with you, Gibbs, apparently he still got it. So I know you don't like that, but apparently he said he still got it after he caught that oop. He ain't done since 2019. He said, I still got it. Don't worry about it. So.
Oh, he put up 17 points on the Pistons. Ooh, wow. I'm so impressed. Anyway, moving on to more important things here. Aldridge to the Nets, honestly, I think that they moving like the Eagles were when the Eagles had Mike Vick. When they had Vince Young as their backup quarterback, they paid Nnamdi Asomugha all the money in the world. They had Asante Samuel on the other corner. They had all these stars, and people were just like, "Oh yeah, this the dream team. It has to mesh and gel and work together in practice, not just in theory. You can't just throw." And don't get me wrong, because they're in the East and because they have the likes of a Kevin Durant, a James Harden, and this is basketball where one person impacts the game a lot more than in football. With that being said, I think they'll get to the finals. I think they may even win one, but I don't think LaMarcus Aldridge assists you greatly in that quest. I just don't. I don't. To say that his best days behind him athletically is being very generous. It's being extremely
Did he ever have best days athletically?
Exactly. I was just about to say, even coming in, athleticism was like a critique that everybody's like, oh, yeah, he plays a low to the basket game, but we don't know if he can jump and do all these things. And so now it's like, I mean, you could slide a piece of paper under the man if he's doing a vertical jump. That's about it.
I will say this, though. They lost all their depth with that Harden trade by moving all their pieces. They lost LeVert. They lost Dinwiddie to injury for the season. They lost. I didn't understand the Luke Kennard deal, but I mean he's kind of useless now. They lost a lot of depth. I think they added a little bit depth left to that roster, getting LaMarcus Aldridge. You know, I think they added.
Hey, listen, if you tell me we going from depth wise, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Jared Allen to LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, I might smack you. I might just put hands on you.
I'm saying for pieces you had to lose for Harden, I don't think LaMarcus Aldridge is that bad. You know, it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Yeah.
You still got to see me out back. If that's what you proposing to me as a trade, like if we
you gonna smack me in private. You gonna smack me in private.
Oh, absolutely. If you playing my GM on 2K and you offer me that trade, hey Chris, come outside real quick. I'm not gonna put hands on you. I'm lying. I'm finna put hands on bro.
That's the move right there with your homie wilding in public, but y'all homie, so you got his back when y'all in public. But when y'all get to the car, hey, what was he doing in there?
Bro, did you not see that gun he had on his waist? All right, so beyond that, the next buyout, finally, Cleveland did a buyout that made sense. They made a move.
I know Gibbs was jumping for joy. Gibbs was jumping for joy.
Although, even this move don't make sense to me because still, even if you trade Andre Drummond for like a future first to a contender, it's still better than nothing. A buyout, you get nothing. So, of course, even when they make a good decision, Cleveland has to make the good decision in the wrong way. So, Andre Drummond is bought out, ends up with the Lakers. Does this move the needle?
It definitely moves the needle. We've seen what LeBron and that Lakers offense and just the team in general is able to do with a player that has rebounding instincts and size and defensive instinct. In the likes of Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, like that, this last season, you really turned back the clock as far as what Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee could do, which resulted in them getting contracts that, like, I'm not really sure they were worth. I mean, if we're being honest,
Philly looking crazy.
Right.
Philly looking crazy.
Right. So you're basically bringing in a younger. I'm not going to put Drummond right now at the ceiling that Dwight ever was, but as far as like a skill set goes, you're really bringing in a younger Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee skill set kind of player who was able to get more rebounds than both of them are able to, who's able to provide a little more strength under the basket just due to his youth and he having a little more athletic ability than Dwight did. Maybe not JaVale McGee, but he's a little more bulky than McGee ever was. So I think that's going to work out for them. However, the issue I'm looking into is if AD is not healthy, Drummond is not enough to get LeBron and the rest of those guys like to the level that they need to be in order to get a championship. Drummond needs to fulfill his role and be there to strictly rebound the ball and have size. And if he tries to do anything more, it's not going to work out for whatever it is they're trying to do. AD is the deciding factor here.
I ask you this guy, is Drummond a number 3 option on this team?
Yes, simply from the standpoint that like those number 3 option buckets are going to come from somebody missed a shot, offensive rebound, and putting it back up. They're not drawing up a play for Drummond. They're not giving him anything more outside of him maybe getting open in the lane off a pick and roll.
Okay. I was just asking. I mean, I don't know what the offensive scheme gonna be.
I'm a jump. I got it. I firmly believe, even without a healthy AD, this is enough
to win a championship.
This is absolutely. I don't know why people. The greatest, and I stand by this until I'm proven wrong. The greatest trick that NBA GM has ever pulled on any of us is convincing people that Andre Drummond is not impactful to basketball games. Like that, to me, is the craziest thing. There was an unnamed GM who said he could get 20 and 20 and not impact the game. And again, to say he doesn't impact the game, I would just ask this question. And this is open to both of y'all. Name me 5 centers right now that you know are better. Name me 5 centers that you know if they're against Drummond, either A, they're going to shut Drummond down, or B, they're going to give him so many buckets, it don't matter when he gets his and gets his numbers on the boards.
I mean, according to history, can I name Embiid 5 times?
Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. This man is giving you good rim protection, not elite, not great by any means. I'm not saying he's giving you Gobert. He's giving you good rim protection. He's giving you great rebounding. His scoring numbers are a little inflated because he takes more shots than he probably should with the Cavs because, of course, Cavs always sell it. So he takes more shots than he should. But other than that, this is a premier big who plays the game in the way that a big should. If you look at the Lakers, one of the worst things that they possibly could have did was added a playmaker. If they added a playmaker to this roster, they would have looked crazy because there's only one ball. Yeah. There's only at some point you need people who are going to finish the play. You have that in LeBron. You have that in Schroeder. You have that in, well, who else? In this current roster without AD, who else do you have that you're like, I can trust him in this situation to finish?
Right.
Gasol doesn't have any one aspect where I'm like, I know Gasol is going to get it done offensively here.
He's a great passer for a big man.
He's a great passer, but that's why I said they have too many playmakers. They have playmakers everywhere. But again, somebody has to finish the play, and that person can't just be LeBron James. It can't be. Yeah. If you have a great passing big, what do you put him with to help him out? Shooters and a good scoring big. That way they can get those passes from block to block that's like, wait, how did he make that drop off? Don't matter. It's a dunk. They getting back on defense. And again, when you say that they might not have enough, in comparison to who? In comparison to who do the Lakers not have enough to get them a championship?
The team they're likely going to meet in the finals, which is Brooklyn. Yeah, just look at it from this standpoint. Let's say in a finals matchup, KD give you 25, Harden give you 25, Kyrie give you 25, and then those role players give you a couple points. If AD doesn't play and Bron give you 30, 10, and 10, and let's say Drummond gives you 20 and 20, I don't think the remaining pieces on that Lakers team is enough to meet Brooklyn's firepower. They need AD to win a championship.
But why are we assuming that we're assuming something that history has not shown us? Why are we assuming that all three from Brooklyn, A, will be healthy, B, will be available, C, will be firing at all power? Like, I'm sorry, but the best predictor of future behaviors is the past. These three have all gone missing in huge series.
That's true.
With the exception of Harden. Let me not say that. Harden is the only one who hasn't been hurting out for huge series.
No, he hasn't been out, but it's definitely more than one occasion where Houston should have beat Golden State and Harden didn't show up.
So that is where I rest my case here, because at the end of the day, we haven't seen Drummond in the playoffs. We have not seen Drummond on a team where you've got a shot to win a championship, big dog. What you going to do? We haven't seen that. So we don't know how he's going to play it, but I'm going to assume even if his numbers drop by like 3 points and 2-3 rebounds, that's still going to be a 12 and 10, 12 and 11 guy. I'm all right with that. But or if you're talking about no AD, the numbers skyrocket back up because he's going to get more shots. So when I look at that, when I look at Brooklyn, I'm sorry, but I can't. You can't tell me. Kyrie Irving can say, "Oh, we're going to be there at the end of the season." You know we're going to be there. According to what, Kyrie? Again, all of y'all have been number 2 on teams who have went to championships or won championships. Yep. None of you have been number 1 on a team except for maybe KD on a 72-win team with 2 of the greatest shooters of all time, one of the best defenders of our generation who may be smoking some of that Franklin Saint product to believe he's the best defender ever. But the fact of the matter is you've never been asked, here, take the whole load, make it happen.
If I'm being honest, KD might have been a number 1 option on that team, but I never considered him number 1 on Golden State. So
he wasn't the bona fide leader, but he definitely, offensive weapon wise, he definitely was the number 1 option in the system for sure. Like the ball was gonna touch KD hands every possession, just about.
But we can't go here. I can't guarantee you that Kyrie will be healthy when playoff time comes. But I think that KD will. I think KD is. I don't even think KD is hurt now. I think he's just like, we doing all right. I'm waiting for the playoffs.
Sure, KD. But again, they're gonna hit the same problem that those Clippers hit. And oh God, we can't stop nobody. Oh God, we don't have chemistry. Granted, they have much more natural. You can roll the ball out and ask those 3 to get you a bucket, and they will succeed at that task much more than Paul George, Kawhi, and whoever you would consider their third scorer to beat. Lou Will, maybe. That's definitely going to be more of a score. But again, I'm just confused about when these 3 are all supposed to be healthy and good together. Because even if we say, well, they're resting up for the playoffs, sure. Then who you going to play when you get there? Philly? Boston? Who of those teams is an easy out for y'all? Both of them present problems for y'all that you're going to have to grind to get over. You're going to have to grind to get over Boston's depth. You're going to have to grind to get over it. You're going to have to grind to get over Joel Embiid if he's healthy.
Now, I just look at the Nets from this standpoint. They present their issues, but in the scope of basketball and the fact that one player is able to impact the game so much, it's very rare that if they're healthy, you see a situation where you have 3 players this talented on one team and they find a way to not win.
For sure. I'll tell you this much. If those 3 are healthy, Lakers fans, go ahead and play Dance by Migos because y'all in trouble. Y'all in trouble. But if history bears out right.
They're in trouble if AD isn't healthy. I think AD makes the difference. I don't know where this narrative came from. Drummond is an effective big man. LeBron has never played with a big man as good as Drummond. You can't name. I'm talking about center, not power forward, center.
Yeah,
never played with you. Do you know how many times Bron gets trapped at the top of the key when he starts his drive because teams is trying to build a wall? Do you know how many easy passes LeBron gonna make to Drummond down low?
Oh my Lord!
Drummond gonna be able to look at the rim and touch it, then catch the pass and then lay it up. And then mind you, AD was a defensive player of the year candidate, and now you add Drummond and Gasol to the front line with them at the rim. So it's no longer a weak side when AD's on the court with one of them. It's no longer a weak side because AD already was coming off the help side to help guard the weak side. And then Drummond is over there now, so AD don't have to reach out much. He can stay in the wing, so that shooter's no longer open on that wing.
Right.
Because AD's going to be spreading the floor. He can spread the floor. AD can put the ball on the floor. Drummond can set screens for AD at the top of the key now, and AD can get the mismatch on the smaller guy on the block. And AD's shown he can hit that fadeaway. That fadeaway look pretty when AD get it. He get that fadeaway going on them little guys. That fadeaway look pretty. Then Drummond and Brown in the pick and roll. Why can't that be a form of Lob City? Why is that not a form of Lob City? Y'all think Blake Griffin still got it? Drummond never lost it.
He never lost it. Lost it.
So to me, the Drummond signing was huge. Huge. It secured up that center spot for the Lakers that was looking shaky. And without AD, that's where I disagree with you, Gibbs. I don't think they come out the West easily. They could come out the West because you have LeBron James. But I think the Clippers, even though we dog the Clippers so much, it'd be tough for LeBron to beat those Clippers with just Drummond. AD makes the difference when you play the Clippers. Now, they did just pick up Rondo and lost a little wheel. They lose a little scoring, but Rondo's going to be that person that say, Paul George. He going to talk to Paul George how we talk to Paul George. That's how Rondo going to talk to Paul George. So I'll say that.
So you think that Drummond is scared of rim protector Zubac? That's what
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying the pieces around Bron and just Drummond. They'll fold. They'll fold against PG, Kawhi, Rondo, and
I think so.
Marcus Morris. You get what I'm saying?
If they had that series, if that series went down and Schroeder plays well, I think that the Lakers are taking it 5, maybe 6. If Schroeder played, you gotta count on Schroeder, who his numbers dipped a little bit last. And that's
playoff.
the thing. I'm not sure if you can count on Schroeder to play good basketball in that frame,
especially not against those wing defenders. As well.
I would never put my eggs in the Clippers basket, but Chris might have a point. If AD does not play, I think the biggest threat to the Lakers may be the Clippers.
Because I'm just saying they have enough defenders to keep switching on Bron.
Right, because
they got enough defenders.
Bron will get his. They'll put pressure on him to where Bron will have to defer. We know that Bron has no problem with deferring, but the issue is who you're deferring to, and I don't think
without AD, it's not really. I don't think
any of those players are able to step up to the occasion. Even though we've seen them take major L's. The perimeter defense by the Clippers can provide a lot of pressure for players on the Lakers that I don't think are prepared to handle it.
Like you got to remember, Jamal Murray almost played perfect for them to come back 3-1. Now, granted, the Clippers still shouldn't have lost that series, but Jamal Murray had to play absolutely perfect basketball. Jokic, he didn't play perfect basketball. That's why it ended up being 7 games. But if Jamal Murray and Jokic would have started off that series playing perfect basketball, the Clippers would have lost in 5.
Let's say Drummond is on the bench and LeBron has to facilitate, and he gets trapped and he got to kick it off the Kuz. if Kawhi put a hand in his face, how many times out of 10 is Kuz getting a bucket for you?
First of all, Kuz don't need to be taking that shot. If Kawhi is rotating to you, sir, kick that ball somewhere else. Kick that ball somewhere else.
And that's what I'm saying. When Drummond's on the bench and AD out there with Bron, I'm more confident. But without if you have to stagger Drummond and Bron to get Bron some rest, I'm not comfortable with Dennis Schroeder and Drummond versus Kawhi, PG, Rondo, Marcus Morris, but even Batum is still a defender. I don't consider him nothing offensively, but he's still a defender.
Yeah, and if you look at the Clippers game, they're a team of runs. Either they're making a run, 20-2 run, or they're on the bad side of a 20-2 run. Like, they don't really have a game to where they're consistently playing all the way through. So if you get caught on the bad end of a Clippers run, that can make or break you in a playoff game.
And I'll tell you what, the problem with those streaky teams like that, somehow in the playoffs, it always works out that the team.
I would never bet.
They do.
I would never bet $1 on the Clippers. I promise you that. I don't care if I had $1 million. You say, Chris, you can get $2 million. You pick the Clippers to win one game. I'm not doing it.
All I'm saying is this to me is the biggest move at the trade deadline. Norman Powell to the Blazers, I really don't think is that big of a deal. He's averaging 20. He's putting up good buckets up there in Canada, but I don't really think that it's going to be too much anything to come of that. Does this move do anything for y'all?
No, I mean Portland really replaced what they were missing. The pieces they got rid of. They weren't able to. Those players were sort of like Rodney Hood was inconsistent, but he really has the same bag as Norman Powell. I think they really just replaced those players with a more consistent version.
They got some more. Yeah, they got some more consistency out of Norman Powell. Now you have nights where Melo can go 3 for 10, but Norman Powell will go 5 for 7. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of balances, make them a little more whole team in my eyes. But it didn't really move the needle much because we saw what Gary Trent was capable of in the bubble. I don't know what the bubble had in it that make Gary Trent explode like that, but he didn't do none of that this season.
It's the no pressure. You playing the AAU circuit.
It's a lot of players that came out the bubble and the Monstars took their powers for this what's that movie, Space Jam 2. Tyler Hero is another one of them. He just the Monstars said, all right, you leaving the bubble? I'm gonna need that. Let me take that. You're not taking a step back with you.
He had good nights, but he not been consistent at all since the bubble.
You're not taking the snarl with you, Tyler. You're not taking it with you out this bubble, big dog. So we gonna move on to that since y'all done messed up the rundown, sitting up here talking about the Lakers. Nah, I'm messing around. But when we look at the coaching situation in the NBA, right? And this is something that we all agreed had to be talked about because there was a lot going on as far as Steven Silas getting a real raw deal in Houston and their losing streak, and him talking about all the coaches that have reached out to him. The Hawks' former coach, Nate McMillan, who is their current coach, getting a raw deal in Indiana. Somehow not beating Brown was not good enough for Indiana. Congratulations with what y'all have now, I guess. So as opposed to the Mike D'Antonis of the world who continually gets a job. Steve Nash, who, while he was accredited with being partially responsible for what the Golden State Warriors did with their shooting, I mean, there still was talent. And even Luke Walton a little bit, who, come on now. We've seen Luke with these Kings for quite some time. And, what? So
now that's the Cavs are the Kings are my Cavs, Giz. I think the Kings always sail.
so Chris, I'm telling you, they ain't been the same since the NBA fixed that finals against the Lakers. I mean, that conference finals against the Lakers, they ain't been the same since. They said, you know what, we can't win anyway. Let's just give up. We'll run a team, I guess, but we don't actually gotta try. Chris, what are your thoughts on this, man? What are your thoughts on the disparity between the situations that a lot of black coaches are put in as opposed to their white counterparts?
Man, I mean, in this day and age, with all the stuff the NBA did over the bubble and just in general, I appreciate them for at least hiring black coaches, but why is the window so much smaller for black coaches? It broke my heart seeing Steven Silas coming into this offseason excited. He said, I led the most efficient offense of all time in Dallas. He was their offensive coach.
Right.
And to come into getting a young Luka to upgrading to a James Harden. The things that Steven Silas probably had in his mind when he thought he was getting Russell Westbrook, James Harden. He probably had so many schemes designed already. He did his homework for sure. I guarantee that because Steven Silas shows up and he shows out.
Oh, absolutely.
And to see them just get rid of acid after acid after acid from him, it's just like it just breaks my heart because the GM Raphael Stone might vouch for him like Silas is our guy long term, but
right.
we all know after 2 or 3 years of this they're gonna say we got some young players and they still not doing nothing. Silas got to go. Silas got to go. Versus a Luke Walton, I don't know how you go from the Lakers job the next day you get a Kings job. The next day, the Lakers don't make the playoffs.
Yo, craziest thing about this, like we've seen these players pan out in different situations. Some of them good, some of them bad. But Luke was in a situation with those Lakers to where like those baby Lakers. A lot of people thought in a couple years those players was going to be the truth. Like a lot of people looked at that Lakers score and was like, "Yo, if they develop, like these guys are going to be a problem."
But the crazy part,
nothing with them.
The crazy part is, I mean, if we look at the current day, they were right.
Randall,
Ingram, All-Star, D'Lo, All-Star, Ingram. Wait, I don't think he had D'Lo.
He had Zoe.
Oh, he had
Zoe was having the best year. Zoe was shooting 40% from three.
Zoe, B.I., I mean, so many pieces. Hart as well. Like, so many pieces that at the end of the day, you couldn't turn them into nothing.
Right.
Like, I understand that they were rookies and learning, but, like, nothing, Luke.
It's 2 rookie coaches this year that are on relevant franchises. Brooklyn Nets now that they're relevant, Steve Nash, Steven Silas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Steven Silas has players under the age of 20. Kevin Porter Jr. is 19 years old, and that might be his second option in the offensive system.
Right. Right.
Christian Wood is his best player. Nash, first coaching job, he gets Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. I'm gonna let the audience just think on that, man. It's just I'm real passionate about stuff like this because this is just America. This is how it is. I mean,
I'll tell you what. If you think it's bad, the NBA, come on over to the NFL. Let me tell you about this NFL. The Lions winningest coach ever by percentage. Didn't have Barry Sanders. Had Megatron for all of, I want to say, 3 years. In Jim Caldwell, fired, never got another job. Lovie Smith, fired after 10 wins in Chicago. Didn't get another job. He's coaching at, I want to say, Illinois now. You look at what these coaches... there was a coach from the Cardinals who was fired after 1 year for Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff, I've never won the Big 12 Kingsbury. Cliff, I couldn't even make Patrick Mahomes a winner in college in a defense's optional Big 12. That guy got a head coaching job. So I agree that these coaching situations, it's getting a little out of hand. Yeah. Some of these coaches, the Eagles' new head coach at his press conference was so bad. It was so abysmal. The Eagles got to win 10 games this year, or I gotta let you go, bro. This man was reading from a paper. I kid you not, and literally said, we've got to run systems that confuse our opponents, but are simple for us. A problem I saw was a lot of confusion by us, so that needs to happen, and we need to. Listen, people talk about Dan Campbell's biting kneecaps off speech. I have never seen any first speech worse than what the Eagles head coach just dropped.
What about
I'll tell you that right now.
Was that their new general manager or coach? Was it the Jets last year or the year before?
The Jets one was pretty bad. Yeah, the Jets one was pretty bad.
I mean, we don't discuss certain terms here on the Facts Over X podcast, but that Jets coach was Yeah, well,
and here's the thing. if you at least bring, again, with Dan Campbell, it was nutty, it was zany, it brought energy, it made you excited, right? It made a lot of the fan base excited. It made a lot of former football players excited. The fact of the matter is that Eagles press conference, if I was the president of football operations, I would tell them, hey, big dog, somewhere in these next 3 years, you got to win 10 games. With what you just did, how you just embarrassed us. Imagine if you had to show up for your new first day of work and you did that. I just got a new job, right? Literally just got a new. If they gave me a script to read off of, and I'm like, so we need to do, and they would look at me and say, oh, you're a fraud. You're a fraud. You got to go, bro.
Yeah.
You got to get up out of here. So I do think that there is something. And also, like you said about Steve Nash, look at what Cliff Kingsbury is gifted. One of a generational talent at quarterback in Kyler Murray. He can throw the ball a country mile and runs like a 4.5 and is ridiculously lightning quick. So, and he got DeAndre Hopkins in year 2. Still couldn't get to the playoffs.
I think just to put my 2 cents in here real quick, it's not even indicative of coaches in sports circles, but just indicative of us in America in general. I just would like to see a landscape that at least starts in sports, because a lot of like movements that we see, or a lot of things that kind of, unites people together begins in sports. I want to see opportunities to where we are allowed to screw up. Like, we're not even allowed opportunities to try to mess something up.
Nate McMillan.
If you look at the T-Wolf situation, Ryan Saunders got fired, and his assistant coach was a black man. He's fairly young. If I recall correctly, I think he's like age 48. Not too old for a head coach.
Yeah, they made the Silas.
And these players were on board. Cat was under the impression that he would be the head coach. D'Lo was under the impression that he would be the head coach. And essentially, he got shafted. He got fired 12 hours later for his friend, for the general manager's friend, essentially, who doesn't have any professional coaching experience. So, like, even if this guy came in, even if the interim coach came in and was the head coach for the rest of the season, and he lost every game for the T-Wolves, like, allow him the opportunity to mess something up.
Yeah.
We've seen coaches, we've seen black coaches in the NBA and the NFL that have made playoffs, that have had transcendent seasons for franchises, and because they didn't get it done, they got fired. Even though, like, the way he approached things might have been wrong, Mark Jackson took a Golden State team who Golden State took San Antonio, the defending champions, to 7, didn't they?
Yes.
And Mark Jackson got fired.
6 or 7, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Mark Jackson got fired. Or they weren't defending. They won a championship that year. San Antonio won a championship that year.
And he was laughed at when he said Steph and Clay were 2 of the greatest shooters that the game has ever seen. They literally laughed at him in the man's face.
Alvin Gentry had 36 games or 37 games as Zion. Didn't even have a full season as Zion.
Yep.
And we see what Zion is now. Under a minutes restriction. And we see what Zion doing now. First All-Star appearance next year.
Yep.
We see what All-Star Zion's doing.
As soon as Gentry was out there, they lifted that minutes restriction.
Van Gundy hasn't done anything coaching-wise since he left the what? You know what, Gibbs.
I mean, hey, you ain't wrong. Hey, and you ain't wrong.
Even before Van Gundy was allowed that Pistons job, Van Gundy had one of the most stacked rosters in the NBA and couldn't get it done in Orlando after multiple seasons. And his reward was not only becoming the coach of another team, but being the general manager as well.
Yeah. It literally is astounding in both. In baseball, it's a little different because that is by far the most conservative of all 4 of the leagues.
Yeah.
Like, we get it. In football and basketball, the fact that we are still getting the same pool of coaches, that we keep recycling coaches again and again and again, but all the recycles are happen to be white folks, is terrible. How does Adam Gase keep getting jobs? I don't understand. Is it because he has success with Peyton Manning? Because guess what? Jim Caldwell can say that too. He still ain't got another head coaching job. Basketball, football, it doesn't matter. This is something that, everybody keeps talking about, oh, well, Who's it on? Who's it on? At the end of the day, it's on the owners. They're the ones who make the decisions. They're the ones who make the decisions. And as I've always said, at the end of the day, to me, especially when we look at situations like it was with the Lions, you can never fire a Jim Caldwell. You know why? Because not rocking the boat is the best you can hope for. It's the best you can hope for until you got a bunch of young players.
It's always one coach in the league I feel like they give us just off of. And I think in the NBA is Doc Rivers. And in the NFL, I don't know. I think they just...
It was Marvin Lewis for about
it was Marvin
15
Lewis
years. But even with Marvin Lewis, you couldn't really blame him because the Bengals GMs refused to spend money. They refused. They're just like, hey, bro, you need new players? We give you $20 in a Snickers bar, man. If we ain't drafted, we really ain't trying to pay nobody, bro. So,
like, and they give us Doc Rivers in the NBA. They keep giving him a job. I guess that's our centerpiece because he won a title. But, I mean, I'm not satisfied with that. I want more black coaches to get more chance to show what they can actually do. Like, y'all give us Doc Rivers. But, I mean, what else?
Especially in a league like the NBA where, what is it, 80% of the players? Is it 80-something% of players are black?
Last time I checked, it was over 80.
Naturally, you would believe that at least in part, some of the best people to do it would be the people who've done it at the highest level. In football, you've got a Bill Belichick who had never played at the highest level and turned out to be the greatest, but I think that there's some other things going on there as well that have pushed him to that status, but that's another story for another time. But there has to be, if you look at all the next guys in line in the NFL who you're like, oh yeah, this is a really great coach. A vast majority of them played the game at the highest level.
Yeah.
Did what it took, knew in and out what it is. So to me, it is something that the owners, they got to get fixed. They got to get together.
Soon as they got rid of the Hawks coach, Nate McMillan came in 8-0. That's the most talent Nate McMillan has had his whole coaching career.
Since those Pacers, when Danny Granger was healthy, I think that Danny Granger, Paul George Young.
But I'm saying
that was
when they got rid of his assets in Indiana. When they got rid of his assets in Indiana, this is the most talent he's had.
Even in Indiana, as good as that team was, it's like happening to be. It's like if you're Donovan McNabb in the era of Tom Brady. Donovan McNabb is a great quarterback in his own right. He's no Tom Brady. Like, that's just how it works. Those Pacers were a very good team. They weren't LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh.
Even if you look at that Indiana team, though, like, a lot of the pieces that they left McMillan with to try to work with, the best basketball we ever seen out of those players came under Nate McMillan. Like, when Nate McMillan was the Pacers coach, we were looking at Miles Turner like, this guy should be an all-star.
You know who we were looking at that as a good player that really is indicative of how good he is? Roy Hibbert. Roy Hibbert. And
I knew you was going there.
At least Miles Turner, he still looks good now. We're still looking at him like, he's a good player.
This is not a place where I want to, impose that I want to inflict harm upon anybody or, the Facts Over X podcast is not the place for threats. But as a Lakers fan, when we got Hibbert, if I was presented the opportunity to cause physical pain on Roy Hibbert, I would have taken that
opportunity. Hey, listen, all that is being asked for by us, by other members of the media, by these players, by these coaches, is simply that that black coaches be given an opportunity that is on pace, that is fair, that is decent. That is not, I'm going to give you the worst team in the league, or a team that was middle of the road last year, but we destroyed everything. Because the Magic next head coach, we all know what's going to happen. We all know. Listen, they're going to go up to David Vanterpool. That was the Minnesota assistant coach that didn't get the job. The Magic finna reach out to him. Hey, Dave, we got a job for you, man. Next thing you know, he's sitting up there looking at Gary Harris and Markelle Fultz like, so... Y'all want to get out the ice tub yet?
The second they win 30 games, they're going to call Brooklyn like, what's D'Antoni doing right now?
It's off. Anywho, I know y'all tired of us talking about these trade deadlines. Y'all tired of us talking about these coaches getting unfair opportunities. And y'all tired of us talking about the Lakers and the Nets. But come on back next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. Also, Chris got his bed made this time for whoever was in the comments. Talking about Chris Brand was trash.
They did me dirty. I didn't even see.
Oh, they did you dirty. I was in Carlo podcast, and it was like, "Are you the one with the dirty bed, with the unmade bed?" I was like, "Oh God." I mean, I'm gonna sell Chris out and tell you it was him, but also, oh God. But yeah, peace and love, y'all. Come on back the next week and the week after that and the week after that and the week after that. Peace and love.